What's going on Tuesday, May 5th, 2026? Ken Arzon here. I wrote a book, Yearly Leaders of Every Batting Category. Got 13 chapters in this book. I'm looking at the top 5 baseball players who lead the league in a certain offensive category. I break down this book into 13 chapters, 13 different offensive categories. And I look at the years 1871 through 2025. And each video that I do on an offensive category, I do 10-year segments of 10 years, looking at the top 5 baseball players. So chapter 1 was home runs. I did all those videos, 15 of them. 15 decades from 1871 to 2025. Chapter 2, batting average, 15 videos. Chapter 3, runs scored, 15 videos covering every decade. So I'm going to start a new chapter, chapter 4. I'm looking in here, runs batted in, and I break it down in this book, 15 decades. It'll be interesting to see the progression of RBIs per season and who was the first guy to break 100 RBIs in a season and what year was it? Do you know the answer to that question? I have it. I have this book. And then we'll look at some guys who have stupendous seasons, like 150, 160, 170. And there's one guy who breaks 190. Hack Wilson, you know that one, right? So as I go through the decades, which players land in the top 5 the most? Those are proficient baseball players, not just doing it once, but doing it multiple times. I have the list of guys. 3 guys did it double digits. Camp Hansen, Babe Ruth, and Lou Gehrig. Hansen 11 times in the top 5. Babe Ruth 11 times. And Lou Gehrig 10 times. After that, you have guys 8 times, 7 times, 6 times, 5 times. But it's interesting to watch from 1871 and then go through all these decades, the progression of RBIs. It goes up and then goes down a little bit, and then it kind of levels out. And then you have a really good year of RBIs, but then other years are kind of flat. You got to wonder why in baseball history that happens. And I have the answer of the guy who broke 100 the first time. Some guys were in the 90s, but it wasn't until 1884. I started 1871. That's when the National League got going, and Baseball Reference starts at 1871. But it wasn't until 1884, so that is what? 14 years, 13, 14-year period. The first guy to do it, to break 100, Dave Orr. Have you heard of him? 1884, went for 112 RBIs. Before that, the high was 97 by Dan Brothers. All right. And then, who's the first guy to break 110, 120, 130, 140? And then you have the guy that did 190. Nobody's gotten 200 RBIs in one season. Will that ever happen? I don't think so. There are guys that were on the pace for 200 RBIs in a season. The problem was they didn't play enough games. There was a guy named Ross Barnes. He was on pace for 200 RBIs. There was another guy. Why I say Ross Barnes? Well, there was a guy, I think in his situation, he was like 70 or 80 RBIs. I believe he was the one. And he only played 50 or 60 games. If he had played a 162 game season, he was on pace to set that record. And there was another guy too that he had like in 80 games, he had 100 RBIs. If he had played 162, he would have had 200 RBIs. He was on that pace. I forgot the guy's name. As I was doing my research, when I come across it, I'll let you know. I forgot his name right now. It kind of slips me. In 80 games, he had 100 RBIs. I should know that guy's name. Anyway, let's look. 1871 through 1879. The top 5 in RBIs, okay? Riney Walters, 44 RBIs. Very low, right? That was the high in 1871. Why? He only played 60 games. Cal McVeigh, 43. Levi Merrill, 40. Lib Pike, 39. Al Reach, 34. That's 1871. 1872. Lib Pike, 60. That's the high so far. Cap Hansen, 48. Wes Fisler, 48. Joe Start, 48. Ned Colbert, 47. 1873. Here's a high. Deacon White goes for 77. Al Spalding, 71. Ross Barnes, 60. Andy Leonard, 60. Levi Merrill, 59. 1874, Cal McVeigh again, 71. Jim O'Rourke, 61. Bill Craver, 56. Al Spalding, 54. Deacon White, 52. 1875, Cal McVeigh again. It's 1, 2, third time for him. He goes for 87. Andy Leonard, 74. Jim O'Rourke, 72. George Hall, 62. George Wright, 61. So 87 is the top RBI output so far. Cal McVeigh. 1876, Deacon White, 60. Cap Hansen, 59. Paul Hines, 59. Ross Barnes again, 59. Cal McVeigh, 53. 1877, down year. Deacon White, 49. John Peters, 41. Ezra Sutton, 39. Charlie Jones, 38. Tom York, 37. Down year. 1878, Paul Hines, 50. Lou Brown, 43. Camp Hansen, 40. Charlie Jones, 39. Bob Ferguson, 39. All these guys. Hardly hear of anyone. I've heard of Jim O'Rourke. He's Hall of Fame. Deacon White's Hall. Camp Hansen, Hall of Fame. These other guys, Al Spalding, Hall of Fame. These other guys are no names. 1879, Charlie Jones, 62. Jim O'Rourke, 62. Buttercup Dickerson, 57. Cal McVeigh, 55. Deacon White, 52. Okay, so that's the 1870s. Nobody breaks 100. The high is Cal McVeigh's 87. So, interesting decade here to get going. Cal McVeigh goes 5 times in 9 years, top 5. Deacon White, he's another guy. He had a good decade. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times for Deacon White. Jim O'Rourke a couple times. Al Spalding a couple times. And then you have Camp Hansen in this decade. 1, 2, 3 times. But his decade will be the 1880s and 90s. Remember I told you? He's tied with Babe Ruth with the most top 5 finishes in RBIs. 11 times, Cap Hansen. He was a premier RBI guy. He had over 2,000 in his career. Actually, I'm looking it up. He had 1,999 RBIs in his career. He didn't reach 2,000. Boy, that hurts, doesn't it? 1,999. Would you rather have 2,000 or 1,999? To him, it probably didn't matter. I would have contested that. I would have said, hey, official score, give me an RBI in some of those situations where I should have got it. So 1871, you got to give it to Cal McVeigh 5 times. So he's the premier RBI guy in that decade. Then you have to go look at Deacon White, Jim O'Rourke, and Cap Hansen, those guys. Okay? So let's go decade by decade, looking at the top 5 RBI leaders. And we'll see the progression, how the RBI output increases. First guy to get 100 RBIs was Dave Orr, 1884. Did you know the answer to that trivia question? I didn't know it. First guy in baseball history to get 100 RBIs in a season. It was Dave Orr. Have you heard of him? Also, we'll see the progression of RBIs increase because what happens after the 1870s, 1880s, they start playing more games. They were in the 50, 60, 70 game range for a while. Then it got up to 80. Then it got up to 100, eventually 120. And then the 154 game season was established. And then eventually 162 games in the present era that we play in. So as a result, more games, more RBIs. But I'm going to look up that one guy. I was really impressed with him. He was on pace for 200 RBIs in a season if he had played a 162 game season. I ran across his name, but I forgot about him. I will find out who this guy was. One of the most prolific RBI guys in baseball history. His name slips me. Wish I had it in my memory. But I'll look it up because when I was doing the RBI research for this book, I came across his name. In 80 games, he had 100 RBIs. If he had played 162, what would that be? He was on pace 200 RBIs in a season. Nobody's done it. I don't think it will ever be done in baseball history because today's guys are just having a hard time breaking 100 RBIs. All right, my next video, 1880, 1889. Talk to you later. I'm out.